Welcome to the Art of Lifting podcast. Today I am joined by Alba. Did you want to just introduce yourself a little bit?
So I'm Alba Bostrom from Sweden, and I obviously compete in the 63s, and I'm a junior world champion and been competing at Sheffield, so I think that's how people may know who I am.
Perfect. Yes, I'm sure anyone listening will know who you are. I wanted to first ask you the question I ask everyone at the beginning, which was, how did you find powerlifting?
So for me, I think like a very common way of finding powerlifting is through an eating disorder, and it was the same for me. So like I started training it when my first year of high school, pretty much. Like I just started doing home workouts. I had been doing home workouts a little here and there, like it's a bit embarrassing, but like 100 squats every evening, kind of thing, like for about a year or so. But then before that, I never known anything about losing weight because at that time I was trying to gain weight pretty much, but I didn't know how to do that. So I was eating like chocolate cake every day because figured out that's high in calories. So I gained a bit of too much weight because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't really strength train. I just did some squats at home. And then I kind of figure out, okay, calories, what is it really? And start to basically lose weight. And I've always been the kind of person that has like almost performance anxiety. Like I want to be the best at everything. I basically just tried to eat as little as possible and then got into that rabbit hole of eating too little all the time, getting an eating disorder. And then it just basically after like 3 months or so, it just switched over completely to binge eating like every single day, like clockwork every day at 3 p.m. It was just that's when I couldn't hold it anymore. So I would like try to eat nothing in the beginning of the day and then I would binge eat basically. And after a while of that, it was just me binging. Like it was a routine pretty much. The good thing, like I was strength training, I was doing like some squats and deadlifts, some bench, like basically influencer gym workouts pretty much. And what I noticed is like there was this one day where I did hip thrusts and I had done like 100 or 110 kilos that day. And then I was like, I had been benching like heck, not just from 3 p.m., but like the entire day. I've had like 10 donuts, same with cinnamon buns. I had like Thai food. I had like everything I could find, and I had a quick nap, and then I went to train. And I did like 180 kilos, and I was like looking around everywhere, being like, "What just happened?" And that's when I fell in love with getting strong. And it wasn't like a switch that just flipped from this, but I just started realizing that when you're eating, you get stronger. And I like that feeling. I've always loved athletics, but I've never been good at it. I've been doing horseback riding my entire life, pretty much since I was 7, but never had the money to buy a good horse. So it was like, I felt like I was too late at every sport, so I couldn't do anything. And then I found powerlifting through social media. And this was around the same time as that hip thrust. And I immediately started thinking like, I'm gonna compete. This is my thing. I'm gonna do this. I had no idea how. And and then basically I visited my sister one time. There was this powerlifting gym that I know of in Stockholm, so in the capital of Sweden, and she lived there at the time. And so basically, we didn't have the time. It was almost closing there, but she just rushed me over to get to that powerlifting gym to get me to actually try out with someone there. And it was just I instantly fell in love pretty much. And then I went back home to Sundsvall, which is like in the middle of Sweden where I grew up, and being at home. And I was like, still like, I want to do powerlifting, but I don't know how. I want to compete. I know it, but I didn't really dare to like find a club. And I was talking about this at home, and it eventually just turned out by coincidence that there's this strongman group with this guy who's been like had the world open like the equipped bench press world record in the plus and for like so years. He's been really good, and he does strongman now, and they train strongman in the same like building that my dad is like business does their basically extra work because he is a heavy diver, so they do like repairments and stuff in that building. And so my dad just talked to him, asked if I could come train. I went and trained, and he was immediately like, I'm gonna get you to compete. There's these two competitions, and I was like, yay, let's do it. And that's since then it was like that was just it. But for me, it was I just fell in love with being strong, and it was something so different from trying to lose weight. It was like I could finally switched that off. Now I didn't have to think so much about losing weight, how I looked. It's like I could focus on what my body could do instead. And I could switch to, instead of thinking, now I'm gonna go to the gym, because that was for me, that was punishment. It was like, now I'm going to practice. And that was like a dream being fulfilled for me at least. So that's
Yeah,
the story.
that's a really like amazing story. And I actually think a lot of people, myself included, are going to resonate with the part where you said like, joining the gym for so many women, even if they don't have eating disorders, is very much about getting smaller.
Yeah.
Especially, I think you started in like 2018 time, I think, didn't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think it was
around that
20.
time, yes, I actually started the same year as you. And I think it was like the 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, like gym culture was very much about being smaller as a woman and being skinnier. And then
Yeah,
I think so many of us that have found powerlifting just had one or two moments in the gym where they just tried lifting and they realized they were good at something. And then
yeah,
it's that addictive feeling of, oh wait, no, like maybe I can go and I don't need to focus on shrinking myself. Like I can actually just focus on getting strong. Like I remember I joined the gym with my mum when I was 16, and my goal was very much get as small as possible. And it
yeah,
wasn't a healthy relationship with exercise or with food. And my mum's 5'2", like I'm 5'7", I'm an 84 kilo lifter. Like my mum's 5'2", she's about 50 something kilos, she's tiny.
yeah,
But my first day in the gym, like she'd been lifting weights for a while and I was like just as strong as her, if not stronger. And then
yeah,
like over time, some of the guys that worked there would be like, oh wait, you're quite strong, you're quite strong. And then I would train with them and it just became this addictive thing of,
yeah,
oh, I'm actually quite good at this and I can focus on something like with exercise other than what I look like.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people have similar stories in that there's just something addictive about focusing on being stronger. And I do think the tide has changed a lot, especially the last few years, like with social media's growth, where women do
yeah,
join the gym to get strong now. But I think that's a really like
for sure.
amazing story, and it's really, I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. How you then found that strength side of it in powerlifting and focused on that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like as well, like when we started, like in the gym, it was like you said, it was just about getting smaller. And then I think that when we look at other sports, like how many people don't we know that do some kind of sport and it's just for the sake of doing the sport and they love that. And there's nothing bad or no kind of bad relationship with exercise for them within that sport because they're focusing on the sport. And then you get all the health benefits and everything from it as well. But it just turns to something that is fun. And I think no one likes living in like a hamster wheel where you hate yourself, you think about food constantly every hour, you look yourself in the mirror all the time trying to see if something has changed, and you go into the gym trying to force things off of you, like instead of actually trying to like gain things. You don't try to gain anything when you're in that rabbit hole. You don't try to gain anything from training. You're just trying to lose everything. You're trying to lose weight, and then you start trying to, I try to gain strength, I try to gain muscle. And what do you have to do? You have to eat, you have to sleep, you start adding things in your life so it becomes like something that fulfills you a little bit more. And I find that too, that like so many people that I coach, a lot of like older women, they would be afraid of lifting heavy because they don't want to get too bulky, and that's really changed. I have a lot of women over 50 that are like, they really just want to get strong and they want to build muscle because they get the health benefits, because it's so much talked about today, like the health benefits of being strong and lifting heavy, which it wasn't in the past. I feel like when I started, it was only like, yeah, you want to lose weight, do cardio, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I also, I don't know if you found this as well, like around the time I started and when you would have started as well. I remember like it was almost looked as if powerlifting was bad for you. Like all that heavy lifting was going to be really bad for your body. It's not a
Yeah,
long-term sport. I remember, um, I think when I first started, like I had it ingrained in me that it wasn't going to be good for my body long term. So I should probably only do it until maybe the end of juniors and then stop. But actually now it's complete opposite of like, no, this is very good for you. Like we have powerlifters
yeah,
competing in their 70s, their 80s that are like in really good health because they're doing this sport.
yeah. I never like had that thinking myself that you couldn't do it for long, but think that's just because where I started powerlifting, there were so many old people doing it. Like at the time, to be honest, I was very lonely. I didn't have many friends. I never had. I'm an introvert and at the same time an extrovert. But so like my friends was like the 50-year-old woman that was training there, and they did powerlifting. So they became like my best friends. So for me, it was like people were always doing it. But I do get that because it's something I heard later, and especially from coaching, people were afraid of it. But now it's something we talk about, the longevity so much. And I think with every sport, you think kind of like, yeah, you can only do it when you're young. So you're screwed if you start at 20, kind of. But in powerlifting, that's not the case, and it's so cool. Like, because powerlifting is such a sport that's good for so much bigger things than just like competing. It's good for your health overall, like what you can learn from it. So it's adaptable in so many other sports as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I completely echo everything you've said. I wanted to ask you about your start in the sport then. So with, I know some, especially in Europe, I think it's quite common to have actual clubs within powerlifting. So
Yeah.
is that a thing in Sweden as well, where you have like a club that you train with, or is it more like you just find a gym, it has powerlifting equipment, you powerlift there?
No, so I think there may be a few gyms that are that like that in like Stockholm, like the capital. I live in the far north of Sweden, so it's like middle of nowhere pretty much. But in powerlifting, it's smaller here, but there is always clubs. So we have like something, it's basically called an athlete club. It's not that exact wording in Swedish, it's atletklubb. I don't know exactly how to translate that, but that's basically always a powerlifting club. So if you want to start powerlifting in Sweden, you Google your town and atletklubb, and then you like will find a gym that does specifically powerlifting. Because the thing with those gyms is that you pay like your membership fee, and then they are, for some of them, they're gonna pay for all of your competitions, like to travel to the competition, and like sleep places, like if you need a hotel or something, if it's the nationals, they're gonna pay for like the fee for the competitions, and they may even pay and cover your competition license as well. So they basically, usually you pay your membership fee and then they cover everything. It's a little bit different for every single club. Some cover everything, even food, and some you have to pay like half the price. If you're a sub junior, you don't pay anything. If you're a junior, you pay half. If you're open, you pay everything. Like, it's a bit different, but they cover a lot. And they always at these clubs have these like, it's not mock meets, but like smaller local meets, like every single club. Some clubs they join together. If it's like here in where I live in the north, it's like all the clubs in the north they join together to do like one local meet, like 4 times a year, and instead of having it at the club, because it would be like 5 lifters competing. So we have to stick together. So a lot of club does that to make it a little bit more like more happening. And so I think that's really cool. It's very easy to start powerlifting in Sweden. It's not as expensive either, and there's also every single one is in the IPF as well. So that's really cool, because I know in the US we have like everything. Because I had a few clients in the US. It's like, where am I gonna go? And I'm like, I don't even know. Because you're like, we want you to go to the IPF. That we know, because that's what we've been talking about. But there's thousands of clubs and gyms and everything. But so we have like dedicated powerlifting gyms. And then as a powerlifter, you can of course train wherever you want. But if you want to compete, you have to sign with a club so you can get a license to compete.
That's really interesting. I love hearing how other countries do it and how other countries set it up, because like here in the UK, you pay a membership to, there are other federations, but British Powerlifting, which is the IPF affiliate, is the biggest federation. You pay your membership, and then from there, really, it's you pay your sign up fee to the competitions, but you can do the rest yourself. Like, you don't need a club, you don't need a team, you don't need that support. There are powerlifting gyms that kind of act within that, in that people will train together, they'll have like group sessions and stuff like that. But it's much more of an individual thing here, where I think, especially around Europe, it sounds like from other countries as well, it is more of a team thing, which I think that's really nice. And I guess as well, like you kind of said, for beginners, it's quite easy to get into. It must be really nice if you're trying out this new sport for the first time, to be able to just find the nearest club, and you'll have all of that support that you need. Do they tend to have, because you're part of Team Flex, aren't you? So you're coached by Joey.
Yeah.
Do you have club coaches as well, or do you all tend to have either your own coach or do it yourselves?
So I think most people, it's very common to have like a club coach. For me, for example, the one that is going to handle me at meets. So basically, like I said, now I live in the north, but I grew up in the middle of Sweden. So I started powerlifting at Sundsvall's Atletklubb, at that powerlifting gym. And so that's where my first coach was. And also like his friend, they had like a sub junior slash junior group every Wednesday. We all did powerlifting together. That was awesome. And then died out during COVID, because people lost interest in powerlifting during that time, and then I moved. But that guy, he's been like my mentor always, and he's still like, I have him to junior worlds, like I had him for Sheffield. So I have like Joey and him at my meets. So I still would have him because I'm so close to him. So like, I feel like a lot of people will have, especially handling for meets, you're gonna have your club coach with you, and club always gives you someone that can help you. There are a few clubs that I know are very lonely in Sweden, or like places in the middle of nowhere, and they don't have the access to getting help from people that I've coached. But that's very rare. In most cases, they've been telling me like, I don't have anyone because it's a small club. They can't train there because they're having their home gym and the club is far away. But then I just tell them to like ask anyone, and there's always someone that will help from the club. And I know what you mean with the UK because I have a girl and she does everything on her own. And I'm like, that's kind of sad because she has to have like her own friend handling her at meets because there's not a powerlifting claim. No one else does powerlifting there. So, that's kind of sad. So I like the structure we have in that sense in Sweden because a lot of people as well, they do have like, they have someone handling them from the club, and a lot of them have a coach there as well. And I think it's more common now in powerlifting to have online coaches, even in Sweden. When I started, that was not a thing. You just had like your club coach, like someone from the club that would coach you. That was pretty much it. But now it's more common. I see like posts on Instagram and everything, and it's like there's so many people in Sweden, like for example, that has Flex, and that's really cool. And obviously, I coach a lot of lifters in Sweden, and some of them I haven't met because I'm in the middle of nowhere, and some of them live here in town with me as well. So we kind of train together a little bit. But there is definitely this team feeling because we also have team nationals. So like the clubs do as many competitions as they need, and then every club's like top lifters for each competition, they go up in the rankings. And then the like four best clubs in the country, they compete and like with points to see which is the best club in Sweden. So then it's like a team sport. So you have like four lifters from each club that are going to compete against each other. So that's really cool too.
No, that sounds really cool. It sounds as well, I guess, as the sport grows, those more rural areas will hopefully still keep growing and find more, but it sounds like a really supportive environment anyway.
Yeah.
On that note then, so you were saying that they do kind of inter-club competitions and then like the clubs compete against each other. As I'm assuming your schedule is pretty busy in terms of competitions anyway, do you tend to take part in those, or do you tend to just kind of do the ones that you have to and then obviously internationals?
And no, I don't do any local meets any longer. I feel like maybe in a few years I'll do one just for fun. For me, like the fun meet right now, I don't think this will. I think it will be more competitive at nationals soon, so I don't think I will be able to do it. But for me, nationals has been like the fun meet that I do like in Sweden. For now, because I pretty much ever since COVID I stopped, so I haven't done any kind of local meets since after COVID. And before COVID, I did every single competition because we had that where I was living at that time. We had this mentality that you always do every competition there is because you want to get points to the club so that we can win team nationals. So sometimes I would just, do a competition. I would only do my openers just to register a result. But that was also at the club where I was training. Since I moved here, at first I still belonged to that club that I was in the past, and then I switched up here as well. And now I compete for. It's my like mom's cousins. She has a gym in like Colic, so that's even further north than I am, and they have like three powerlifters. So it's like a big gym, but the powerlifting side in it is like very very small. So I compete for them to like hope that we can get a bit for more powerlifters, but I don't do any other meets basically than international ones right now. And it's more so because I feel like I think you can compete more often, but for me, traveling is a pain in the ass, especially where I live. It would be different if I could just go into the gym and then I could do my normal SBD session the same day and like have a competition. That would be fun. But it is like just going for nationals. It's harder than going to worlds, to be honest, sometimes. Like it's so hard because I always have to go to Lula and then I have to take a flight from there to capital and then there's gonna be a bus or train or something. So it's always just easier to focus on the international ones. For me at the moment, at least. That may change in the future because it would be fun to just do some fun meets for funsies, but I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But with your international schedule at the moment, I can see why you're not doing the local meets. Especially like last year, you did Open Worlds and then you did Junior Worlds as well, obviously, and then obviously had Sheffield a few months later.
Yeah, before that I had nationals.
yeah. So what was that? Kind of 4 meets in a 12-month period. That's quite a lot. I feel like that's like the upper limit to what most powerlifters would want to do.
Yeah. At the same time, I noticed when I did that my training was actually going better than when I had a too long off season because during a too long, it's not that I don't like lock in, but it's just that it's harder to be on. But when I had that, okay, now I got 10 weeks of prep. You just have this, okay, 10 weeks, then I'm going to have a week's rest, and then it's going to be 10 weeks, and the next meet. I did notice I was super stressed at the end of Junior Worlds. Like I had breakouts in my face and everything because I was so stressed from the heavy training because I was so focused. But at the same time, like I performed really, really well. Like I upped my standard from each meet. So I liked having that season. I always feel like after Junior Worlds, I needed that break. And I think that's also what made Sheffield a little bit bad too. But yeah, we can talk about that later.
I actually like that you've just brought that up because I wanted to speak to you about, well, firstly, I completely agree about having like back-to-back meets. So last year I competed very short time frame, 6 weeks apart. And one
Yeah.
of those were Commonwealth, and then the next one was British Junior. So I had 4 days off after Commonwealth, travelled home, and then got straight back into prep. And because of that, I had no time to really like slip on my nutrition. I had to just dive straight back into training. And I noticed that my performance at British Juniors was a lot better. Not British Juniors, I'm not a junior, British Open. It's because it's juniors this weekend, so it's on my mind. But my performance into the Open British Championships was a lot better, I think, because I just had to stay dialed in. But then at the same time, as soon as that was done, I felt myself really slip a lot more than what I normally probably would. But I think like a 12-week period between comps is quite nice a lot of the time, like 10 to 12, because it does give you that time to, you can maybe have that week off, like you kind of mentioned, but then you're straight back into prep. So I get what you're saying there. I wanted to talk to you about kind of locking in for comp because I think it was Russ at Worlds last year. Was that when you two met for the first time? So you're both on Team Flex, and I vaguely remember him saying he was speaking to other lifters when he was there, and I think you were one that he named, and you were basically saying what you do in order to kind of lock in and control your training and taking care of your nutrition and things, and it made him realize that he was probably slacking on some things. So I really wanted to talk to you about kind of how you dial in, like what your non-negotiables are when it comes to training and prep, and what you focus on most to help your performance.
Oh, so what I can say first of all, like my life revolves around powerlifting. Like everything in my life is powerlifting. And it's, to be honest, that's pretty much all I think about. It's all I do. Like I moved to the town that I live in just because I didn't want to miss training for 2 weeks. Like because of COVID. Because we didn't have the restrictions in Sweden. I just didn't want to miss training. So I just moved up here. I said to my sister, okay, can I move up to you? And then 2 days later, I just moved. All because I wanted to get my training in. And so basically for me, it's been, obviously nutrition is a non-negotiable. And for me, like nutrition is on like all the time. I think for me, I don't really have like a break where I just do whatever, like it's still in the back of my mind. We had a vacation in Spain like this other week, and it's the first vacation I had in 1.5 years. And I like to have like that vacation, but it's mostly to get more energy for work, for like the coaching, which I also really love, and because it is about powerlifting too. But have that break, but it's still like I can't switch off from powerlifting. Or I can kind of, but I just don't want to. So for me, nutrition is obviously non-negotiable, like always eating pretty much the same thing every single day. And I try to vary, so I make sure I get my nutrients, but then I eat same thing every day because I like to think about what will give me the most mental energy into powerlifting. So for example, if I'm gonna start thinking about it, it's not necessarily about what's the best food, although that's something I really think about, but if I have to go in and start thinking about what am I gonna eat for lunch today, then that energy that goes into thinking about what I'm going to eat is something that could have gone into mental energy into my session, for example, or into my work. So I want to take that. So everything that I can to save mental energy, I try to fix it, like eating the same thing every day, having the same routine, waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, having the same night routine, like putting down our phones at like 7 p.m. and don't talk to anyone on social media or anything after that. Just be completely away. No one can reach me. Have that same like in the weekend to make sure I get like mental rest. And then obviously like trying to train at the same time every day. Although this is something I do change because if I'm dieting, I'm not going to be bloated and then I'm going to feel tiny when I lift and that's going to affect my performance. So then I would train like after lunch so I can feel a bit more bloated. But basically making sure my training is where it fits best into my schedule to where I can perform the best. And then I put that first, not necessarily first in the day, but I put it where I'm going to have the most like mental energy in the day. That's where training goes. And then like even for like what to wear, like I try to think a lot about like, okay, try to have almost the same hairstyle every day, like the same makeup every day. Like I still like to be fixed. Like I want to look pretty sort of, but at the same time, so I don't want to not do anything. But then I try to be like, okay, try to have like the same style of clothes every day. Try to decide it in advance. So I don't have to wake up and think about what to wear, because then that's gonna sap my energy for training that day. So it's a lot of those things, like trying to just optimize as much as I can, but it's mostly because I love it. Like for me, when I'm not living this kind of life, it feels off. Like I just feel like I feel empty if I don't. Um, I don't know where I'm going with it because there's a lot of things. But one of the biggest things I would say that I feel like affects me the most, especially like when prep, apart from like eating, getting my sleep, getting my steps in, is for me like taking care of my mentals. And for me, that means meditation. Like that's something I'm big on because I'm an emotional person. I'm very emotional. And like doing meditation pretty much daily and longer sessions, like further into competition I get, that's something that really helps to be more present overall and also be better at handling my emotion and also like turning nervousness and all of these like all the nervousness and fears that you have with competition, with prep, with pressure, turn that into fuel so that I can switch it to feeling like I'm excited. Like nervousness, no, I'm excited. Nervousness, no, my body's preparing myself for a challenge. Fear, that's because it means something to me. I can do this, and trying to basically create distance from the feeling that I'm having to the action I'm taking, and even trying to do that during the lift. Like when I feel that it's heavy, I don't go like shit, but I can feel like, okay, but you can endure this and I can continue move up the weight. And that's something that I'm very, very big on because otherwise I'm pretty much always been good just because I don't really like to eat shitty food like anymore. It's weird because I had an eating disorder. You would think that I would be like, I have to have balance. I have to eat in a certain way, or that if I'm not in that sense, I'm not free from eating disorder, but I truly is. I just see it as fuel. Like I'm zero emotional attachment to food. It's just like I have to eat this, I have to chew it down. And I can still enjoy myself when I need to and when I can. Like every Sunday, I do enjoy myself and eat something different. But it's like, it's just fuel. So for those things, it's kind of easy. I don't really have that emotional attachment to it anymore. But for like the mentals, that's something that I really have to think about and I have to honestly sometimes force myself to sit down to meditate because it's not something that I always want to do because it's not always fun. But I notice that when I do that, that's when I feel the best. And when I do that, I also stay away from social media. So some may know I delete Instagram completely if you've heard me on a podcast or sometimes like follow me for a while. Like I just delete it completely. And it can be 2 weeks without me posting, without me checking anything. And when I take it in again, I try to not check social media, which is I miss a lot of what happens in powerlifting. I miss a lot of what people post. Sometimes I see a bit, but whenever I've seen something, that's me being weak going into it because I want to see what's happened. But I try to just do that so that I can be in my own lane because that's when I function the best. It's not that I feel, what do you say, like fear necessarily when I see what someone else is doing, but it definitely affects me a little bit that I start thinking about my own training. And when I'm just within myself in my journey, like no social media, just here in the north of Sweden, in the middle of nowhere, focusing on powerlifting, that's when I feel at my peak, pretty much. So that's what I try to focus on the most.
I think that was a really perfect answer. A few things that I want to touch on. So when you said about obviously how you like to eat the same things pretty much all the time, and some might say that you maybe haven't healed from like your past, but actually I do agree with you on that. In the when you're because my routine is very similar from day to day as well, and I'm like my routine is gradually becoming more and more focused around powerlifting. And I think when you know how good you can feel, as soon as you then eat something that maybe doesn't align, like let's say you have like loads of dessert or something really salty, especially when you then feel it in your body the next day, like it feels off. And you know that it sounds bad, but like it probably wasn't worth having because you know that your body doesn't feel as good, training doesn't feel as good, and you just don't feel as good in yourself, right? Like when your life is so routine, the small changes you notice a lot more. versus if you're kind of just all over things. Obviously, people still need to go and enjoy their food. Like, that's not what we're saying, but I do definitely resonate with that. I also like that you said about meditating, and I really like what you said about kind of taking some time off socials, because this is something that I'm trying to implement, because I definitely have an Instagram addiction. And
I do too, to be honest. That's why I need to delete it.
It's so bad. And like recently I've been trying to basically just take more time away from my phone and just sit in the garden for like 5-10 minutes, like, and just sit with my dog or something, just outside in the sun and just enjoy it and relax. And like mentally I feel a lot less stressed for it, and I just feel a lot more clear, like not necessarily from being off of my phone, but from just being a bit more present in moments. And that's where I think things like meditation obviously are really good and really helpful. And then I also wanted to talk about, which is the thing I want to really talk about most, was the mental energy thing, where you said about how you're like, you know, your routine is very set, even down to what you're wearing, what you're doing with your hair, your makeup, like you have a set routine, which I think can sound a bit almost dramatic, being like, it's less mental energy I have to spend on things. But actually, no, it does make sense, because it's just one less thing to think about. And every small difference like that does add up. And it just gives you more time to just kind of be a bit more peaceful throughout your day. So yeah, I just really thought that was a really interesting answer, and I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to talk to you about your coaching, which I know you briefly mentioned in that as well. And you obviously said like powerlifting, strength training is literally your love. I think anyone listening can tell that. And I wanted to ask how you got into coaching.
So actually, like, I started coaching pretty early, like my first year into powerlifting. The guy that always handles me and like was my almost like my mentor, I think he saw that like I was screaming all the time when I was in the gym, and I was screaming at everyone, like not like positive energy, like I'm so happy. I was screaming and talking. I was so enthusiastic all the time. And I think he noticed that, so he was gonna teach powerlifting to a school, and he just asked me if I wanted to come. And I was like, yes, because I've always been into, like, my teachers pretty much in school always told me, you're going to become a teacher or like a business owner, because I'm really good at teaching people. And it's something I've always loved doing, even to this day. Like, if like my partner's little brother, if I get to like teach him powerlifting because he trains sometimes, and when I get to study Spanish with him, like, I'm like enthusiastic because I just love teaching people as well. And so I was really happy about going there. And then we went there that day. I teach like normal school kids powerlifting. And I just found that I had a knack for it. Like, I had a knack for learning technique in powerlifting pretty early and teaching others and seeing like what kind of technique they really need. Like, how do they need to change their form? As how can we change the training? What can we focus on? What variations can we do? Like, what does this person need based on what they did? Like, I just had a knack for it pretty much. And I think it's just because of the years that I've been like interested in teaching overall for different things. So I've been very, I don't know the Swedish, I don't know the English word for it, but like kind when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
So I think that I have an easy way to getting forward to a lot of people. And so I was allowed to come there, and the teachers at that school also was really happy and said as well, and gave me that feedback that I was very good at it. And then I was allowed to do that more and more often. And then we had that junior, sub-junior group as well. And I just basically started helping everyone there as well. So even when I was training on my own, I was helping new people that came in with their technique, giving them, cheering them on during the lifts and everything. And then COVID came, and I moved up here to Piteå, where I live now, so in the north of Sweden. And I didn't know what I was going to do, because this was after high school. So I just graduated, and I was like, I want to do powerlifting full time. Tried to do that for 3 months. That's all the money I had saved. And then I had to start working, hated it, and was like, I'm just gonna work for 3 months, and then I'm gonna do powerlifting full time, or I'm gonna start studying to like like a PT, not a personal training PT, but a PT that with bodies. Was it
Like
physical
physio.
therapist?
Yes.
Yeah,
physical
physio.
therapist.
Yeah. So maybe I start study to that just to get like a license or something, but mostly because it's easy to focus on powerlifting when you're studying. It's way easier than when you have a physical work, like in a store that I was doing. And then I met Sammy. So Sammy is my boyfriend, and I met him, and yeah, we obviously started dating in 2 weeks, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna start coaching. You're not gonna study. And I was like, no, I don't dare to. But he just did it. And I was like, oh, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. This is not going to work. but he 100% believed in that we could have a successful business in coaching, and that I was very good at coaching, and that I could do it and live on it, and that could get to the point where I can like do this full time. Like he 100% from second one, like the first day we met each other, knew and believed that. So he just like basically started, and I was like following along. I have no idea because I didn't really have that belief in myself. But that was after like a month or so, I started believing in it too. And it was 100% right. And I basically follow along. And he's been like the brain behind the coaching, like the business side of things. Like he's doing that. And now I can focus on, I do some social media and stuff as well to like get clients and stuff to build the coaching because that's something that we need. And it's also fun to grow it and help more people. But mostly like I am a coach and he does that. So it's basically truly thanks to him. I always did some of it, but it's really thanks to him that it actually happened because he was like, yeah, let's do it. You don't need to study. You're good at this. Let's go. And I'm really thankful for that. Like now.
I think it's really incredible that you met someone that obviously has that self-belief in you literally from the start. And to be fair, like I mean, obviously you would have probably changed quite a lot in the last few years, like just growing up wise. Like I know I've changed loads in the last few years as well. But yeah, you're a very easy to talk to person. Like even before we started recording, like we were instantly straight into conversation. Like it doesn't surprise me that you're a good coach because of the way you are with people. And I always say like the best coach is not necessarily the smartest coach, it's the coach that's the best at bringing the most out of each person as an individual, right? So if you're good with people, you're going to be a good coach. So I think that's really cool. And it's really cool that he kind of pushed you into doing it as well. And that your life's obviously taken that turn. Because how many years ago would that have been that you started your business?
First of all, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But it's like we've been with each other for 4 years in May. So like almost 4 years now since we started. And it was obviously slower in the beginning and then but I think it was like 6 months and then I could do it full time.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. But he also kind of understood, like at that time when I met him, like I hadn't done my first worlds yet, but I still had, a national title. So he kind of understood that. And I also told him, like, I showed him my gold board immediately, like, I want to become the world champion. So, he knew I was dreaming big. So that's why I also believe that, I will have the credential and the knowledge as well for people to as well be able to trust me with helping them as well. And that's really cool. And now I've basically found that I love coaching like high level athletes as well. I have that a little bit more internationally. It's really fun, but I also absolutely love when you have someone that just want to get stronger and just want to do training, and then you get them into like doing powerlifting movements and they get stronger and everything, and then you kind of trick them into trying powerlifting, and then their entire life changes because now they love training because it's a practice and not I'm trying to lose weight. And you make that shift for them, just like the change that it made for me in my life. And that's like the biggest thing. When you make that's like life changing for that person. If you have someone that is already good and you help them to go become better, obviously that's also life changing and a good thing, which I still love because it's still powerlifting. But that other thing is like it changed their entire life just from finding powerlifting and like realizing that, wow, I can actually be good at this. Because there's so many people that are like, I can't compete in powerlifting, I'm not strong yet. And they are, like, they can. And they just have to have someone that pushes them to do that. So that's like the biggest thing with coaching as well.
Yeah, I think that's really amazing. And you can tell when someone's in coaching for the right reasons based on answers like that, in that it's not just about coaching the strongest lifters, it's about coaching whether you coach beginner powerlifters or like general population that then, like you say, kind of transition into that powerlifting realm. Like it's knowing how rewarding that feeling is when people find that, because where you said it's life changing for someone, and you said you work with a lot of older women as well, like it is genuinely life changing when they get out of that. Like we've all been brought up around diet culture, right? And a lot of people will be joining the gym and exercising and hiring a coach for aesthetic reasons, for what they look like. To find that freedom of, oh no, I can just focus on being strong and the rest of it kind of goes away. Like it is genuinely life changing for people.
Yeah. And also like believing that they could do it, because like a lot of women that are okay, they're 50, they've lived their entire life trying to diet. They live there like, and this is from my knowledge of for most of the people that I talk about in that age, like they live their entire life thinking about food, trying to avoid food, trying to like do every kind of diet or whatever, like basically JoJo dieting, going up and down in weight and trying different like diets and everything, and just not finding happiness. And they like feel like they live a happy life, but they don't feel happy in it, like in their themselves. And they feel like, for sports and stuff, that's something you do when you're young. That's not something you can start with. Maybe they can do a little bit of tennis or a bit of swimming, but it feels so far away from them. And then when you make it a reality that you can be strong, and some of them can get to, I had this girl, she could only like train 3 times per week at home with like plastic boxes for like a rack, small weights for like this technique bar. And she could only train at home, but she started doing it, squat, bench, and deadlift. And eventually she started loving it, went to like the gym, like the powerlifting club, like maybe once a month or something, started competing, got to national, like eventually got to qualify for master nationals and competed there. And it was like, I never thought this was impossible. That's what she said. And that's really, really cool, because a lot of people think that they can't achieve it. And I'm someone who likes to think that I don't believe in talent. I'm someone that when someone talks about, oh, we have this magnificent talent, I don't believe that you're just born a freak. Like, it's going to be based on what you've done in your life before that. If you've been doing sports or some kind of movement almost your entire life, then when you start powerlifting, you're going to have a head start because you're going to be more trained in your body. And if you're someone who's been sitting in a chair your entire life, then yeah, it's going to take longer time for you to get well trained. But that does not mean that it's impossible. It just means that it may take longer time for you. It doesn't mean that you don't have talent. You just don't have that head start. So everyone starts differently, but I just don't believe that there's talent. I really want to believe that you can push and you can get stronger as long as you give it your all and you absolutely make sure that you tell yourself that you believe it. I say tell yourself that you believe it because you may not believe it all the time. You will have doubts and you can force yourself to believe it, but just tell yourself whenever you're doubting that, yes, I can do this. Then eventually you will be able to reach that goal. You will get stronger. And that's like, I kind of, when I'm doing this with powerlifting for these people, it's like I'm proving it to them, like, what was it that I told you? And that's like the biggest thing, because it's something, it inspires me as well in my journey, because I feel like I've been doing powerlifting for, what is it, 6.5 years now, and I think, and like there's so many people that come into powerlifting since after me, and they're stronger than me than when they start. So when I was started, I was told that I was a talent, but now I'm like, I couldn't have been, because people start now and they're way stronger than I am. So, but still I've just continued and continued, and I refuse to believe that I don't have the talent to succeed because, it's taking a long time. I just feel like I can progress faster. I will find a way to do it. I will just continue trying to get better and continue. It just, if it doesn't happen now, it just means that it will take more time. And that's just my mindset with it. And yeah, that was our Alba rant.
That's absolutely fine, because I really love everything that you just said, and I completely agree. And I think it sounds really cheesy, but it is that thing of like, if you place a limit, you're only limiting yourself. Like, if you think I'm not genetically gifted at this, I'm never going to be good, then you're never going to be good. And it's nothing to do with your genetics. It's because of your approach to it and your mindset, and you're shutting off your chances from just not believing in yourself. And even if you don't fully believe it, just say that it's possible, and then eventually you'll start to believe it. So no, I really love that answer. We don't have too much more time. I wanted to ask you, we'll talk about Sheffield, I think, in a second, because that is obviously your most recent meet, and I'd just love to hear about the experience from your perspective. But before we do, I wanted to ask you about weight classes. So at the moment, you are in the 63s, very, very competitive 63. I wonder, because you've done meets as a 69 before, I wondered if you are considering moving up at any point in the future, where you tend to sit between comps, or if you think 63 is at least for the next few years where you're going to be.
I think that I will be in 63s for like the next few years for sure. I would say if I have trouble progressing at some point, I will probably move up to 69 for maybe a while. Like I take 1 year off from competing or something, or I just go up to 69s for like a year or so and belt, and then maybe try to go back to 63, because like I'm a short person and I sometimes get up to like 68, 69 body weight, like, but I have an easier time cutting down to 63 as well. So I don't try to stay that heavy. Like, I would try to maintain like 66 or 67, like somewhere around at like something that's more sensible. But so I definitely could do 69s, but I just don't think that I need to. But that is also why I don't want to compete too often, because I don't want to do like a big cut all the time, because I definitely feel like, when I am doing two cuts close to each other, it is harder sometimes the second time, like doing them close to one another. And I found that with some of the people that I'm coaching as well, that when you're doing almost like back-to-back cuts, it's like your body doesn't really have the time to recover, because it does take a toll on my body. Like I can feel that sometimes. Like I don't, it doesn't affect my performance, but you know, I'm a little bit shitty for 2 days after. So I don't want to compete too often with that as well. But definitely sometime in the future, because like, but I have things that I want to achieve in the 63s first, but I'm not locked to 63s. Like I could move around. It's just that it's not something that I see myself doing now, because I haven't achieved what I want in the 63s yet. Um, but yeah, 69s I will be there sometime for sure.
So I'm assuming from how much you love the sport and obviously your life revolves around it, which I think is a great thing because obviously you just enjoy it. I'm assuming for you, powerlifting is probably a lifelong thing of you're just going to keep
Yeah,
competing just
it
because you
says
enjoy
in the
it.
newspaper I will be doing powerlifting until I'm 80, so I have to stick to that now, because I that's what I said my first report that we did for a newspaper, like what is this, like 5 years ago. I said that I'm gonna do powerlifting until I'm 80, so I'm gonna stick to it. Now I literally want to do powerlifting my entire life, not necessarily like compete, or I would like to do local meets, but not necessarily like international big competitions, but like I want to be involved. A dream that I also have is having like a powerlifting gym in the future, like having my own powerlifting gym and being able to like have someone else run it or something, but so that I can just go in there and like coach people and have like youth groups or something. That's something I would love to do in the future. So yeah, it's like a lifelong thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. So before you go, let's just talk about Sheffield. Had you been to watch a Sheffield before? Or was that the first one you'd been to?
First one I've been to.
Okay. Tell me about the experience. What was it like? I know your performance, you kind of hinted earlier, wasn't what you were hoping for, but I mean, it was still a
Yeah.
very good performance.
Nah.
But
Honestly, it was absolutely terrible. Like it was so terrible. And like I guess that people can say like it's kind of good, because like I didn't play last and I'm still at Sheffield. So with those two, I can be like, okay, it was actually in a sense good. But I know that I made a few mistakes that are like purely my own, and that I'm honestly a bit like I'm ashamed of as well. But I learned my lesson from those. So I'm really grateful for the lessons, and I feel like it was something. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was what I needed. You know, that a little bit cringe, but that's pretty much what it was. And I have to be honest with that. The experience for me wasn't. I regret that I didn't really take in the experience. And I can say the entire prep I did not have a lot of fun, even though I love powerlifting. I did not have a lot of fun. And this was just because I put a lot of pressure on myself after I wasn't training. Training was going really well. Got the invite. Training was going really well. Had great momentum. And I made a mistake. I just went too heavy for a week, and then I didn't deload properly, and I killed my momentum, and I didn't get an injury, but I got some pain. I just had this gut feeling, if I push now, I'm gonna get something nasty. So I just went easier, and then once it was completely gone, I kind of ramped up again to get back to my weights, but I kind of rushed back into my normal weights because now I didn't have the same prep time left that I'm used to, because I kind of know that I need 8 weeks of prep to be at my strongest. Like I need that easier block with technique focus, and then I need the heavier block. And that easier block with technique focus was just like gone because of that pain. And then I was like, my confidence was just because what I know gets me peak condition. I hadn't done it. And so my confidence was very low, and I did not know how I was going to fix it. And I was too emotional to make the right choices to fix it as well. And I made those mistakes, and the entire prep was just like not joyful. And literally forgot to enjoy myself. And so at the competition, to be honest, for me, I did not have fun, and I didn't enjoy it. What I did enjoy though, is all the media things that you had to do like beforehand. That was really cool, like meeting all the lifters, and also the meet and greet that you have afterwards. Like people are coming up taking pictures with you and getting your autograph, and I'm like, why are they coming up to me? That's like that was amazing. So like the experience I can know, and I have a few memories that are like this was amazing. For me though, like actually going out on stage, I didn't really enjoy it, and my like sister and my family, they were like, the second they talked to me afterwards, like, yeah, I saw the second I saw you go out on the podium for the first squat, I knew it wasn't a good day. Like they could just see it in my face. And so that's like the experience. I think that I forgot to actually enjoy it. I forgot to have fun. I forgot to actually enjoy being there, first of all. And I think that's literally shot myself in the foot. I think that's a big reason why I didn't perform good either. And so that's a lesson I have in the future. And since then, like my training have been more fun than ever since that, because I learned that I need to actually remember to enjoy myself because I do powerlifting. I have these big goals, but I still do it because I love it. Um, so now I'm kind of remembering that. But so overall, like it is super, super, super cool with Sheffield, of course. And I felt blessed to be there. It's just that I wasn't present, so I couldn't take in that much during the competition, other than that I was mad about my performance at that time. But it was still really cool. And you don't see like the crowd is really cool too. And so yeah, I don't know if you have any specific questions other than that about like the meet itself, but
No, I think that kind of covers it, and I think it must be common. And I know coaches sort of spoke about it, where like some coaches that were there for the first time this year, previous year coaches had said, make sure when you walk out and watch them do their first squat, just look at the room and take it in. And as an athlete, and you mentioned that you're quite introverted as well, like it must be almost so overwhelming that you can't take it all in, and you're like, if you knew your prep hadn't been amazing as well, like you're probably in your head already, you probably don't almost want to take it all in because
yeah.
it's just so much. Like I couldn't
I actually
imagine walking out on that stage.
Yeah. Actually, like I think one mistake I did is that everyone when I came there was like, I know you're strong. I don't know how I'm gonna prepare you for the crowd. Like everyone was like telling me, I don't know how you're gonna react to the crowd. Like it would be this big thing. We had this day before the competition where we get to go to the venue, like all of the athletes go to the venue, we get to go out on stage and look out and like try to imagine it. And I was like, I was gonna skip going to that because I was like, I don't need it. But then everyone was like, yeah, you need to go. Like, you have to see the crowd, like everything. So I think that when I got out for my first squat, normally I would just be in my own zone. I would like enjoy myself. I would just go out, go to the bar, do my thing. But now it's like, okay, the crowd is gonna disturb me because people have told me so. So I need to check the crowd and take everything in first before I squat. So I did, and that's kind of where I like lost my focus because I started doing things a way that I wasn't. So I'm like, I shouldn't have listened to that. I think everyone meant well, but because everyone told me that, I was like, okay, this is gonna be big, big. And when I actually was there, I feel like the crowd wasn't that big of a factor. You could hear people screaming, but it was still like otherwise it felt like the exact same. It was more music, but for me, it felt like the exact same. So I was like, I should have just approached it just like normally. So that's something that I'm like, man, I should have done. But hopefully, if I get to Sheffield next year, which obviously it's a goal, then now I know this and I can handle it way better. I know like how to approach it, and also you've done it once, so it's like it won't be new. But I definitely think that just put like mind, like a bit of like weird mind games in me because I was like, is it gonna be different really? And then I started getting nervous because everyone was telling me it would be different. So and previously I wasn't. So yeah, that's a little bit
Yeah,
um,
I can't imagine it's something that you can really prepare for because I guess
yeah,
it's just so different. Like Worlds this year, your flight at Worlds was crazy with the crowd anyway, wasn't it? Because you were mixed with the
yeah,
83s as well, and like that contrast to Sheffield is still probably going to be so different. What
yeah,
are you like as you walk out to the bar? Like I know when I compete, again, obviously I'm not competing with the same sort of crowds, but I don't even notice anyone in the room. Like I literally just go to the bar and I'm so zoned in on what I'm doing that I actually don't even know if people are cheering or not. Like and I don't realize it until I've done each lift and I'm like, oh wait, I paid no attention to the room.
yeah.
Are you a
Same.
little bit
I'm
like
always
that?
like, did I listen to the referee with the signals? Like I always do, but I'm like, I don't remember. I just did my lift. No, I'm the same. And also like I have my home gym, so I'm almost always training by myself. And I like training by myself. When I have a heavy session, it's like no one is with me. And I just want to be in my own lane. So like sometimes for me it's a little bit funny. So please still share for me when I say this. But when I go out to like and I do actually hear someone cheering for me, I'm like quiet. And then I go, and it's just like I'm not telling them to be quiet, but it's like I'm just quiet, like don't listen to just focus in. Because like even someone cheering for me, it's like I'm not used to it. I'm used to like doing it for myself on my own. And so it's like quiet. And then I go and lift. But it's still really nice when I have people cheering for me because like afterwards it's like really cool. But it's like always because I try to like focus. And that's why for Sheffield I was like wow, people are cheering for me, and I didn't react the way I normally would react, which is quiet and go and do my thing, like telling myself like quiet everything down, be on yourself, like do your thing, and like you're in your home gym, like almost visualizing that I'm at home. And so I think that you also have to realize what kind of person you are, because some people are going to be like, they're going to take in the crowd, look at it, and then they're going to be on fire. And some people are going to be more like me, like they're used to doing it on their own, and they get the fire in, like from themselves, from within themselves. And you have to like kind of learn how to approach competition, because I've been that person as well, like coming out screaming, hitting my thighs, ramping everyone up. I've been that kind of lifter, and then I got to this where I am now, because I found that this is where I could perform at my best. I'm not supposed to be super quiet, like super focused, because then something is wrong. But I'm supposed to be focused, but also a little bit like relaxed could be the right word.
Yeah, I'm the same, I think, as you. I train alone at home most of the time. So then when I do go to a gym, like for my heavy sessions, I need spotters. It's like, everyone's like, oh my God, you're just so calm when you go to do your heavy set. I'm like, it's because I'm focused. Like the outside noise is gone and it's literally just me and the bar. And it's not even that I'm not internally worked up to do it. I just don't show it on the outside. And I love how different everyone is when they approach the bar. Like I think that's one of the best things about watching powerlifters.
Yeah. I think that's super cool, because you have those calm persons. You have the ones that literally go super fast. They're going to work, like they just lift the bar. And then you have like the Delaney, for example. You have like the dance rituals that they do. We were watching Europeans, me and Sammy, because we were at Europeans in Spain when we were there. And like, some of the setups people have, so they can be super calm, but they can do like a calm dance. And it is actually really cool is watching people set up, because I feel like there is not a single wrong setup. It's just about what gets you into that mental space that you want to be in. And for me, it's also not always going to be the same. Some people have that down to a T. For me, I tried that, but whenever I try to do the same thing all the time, it's like I try to copy what has worked in the past, and I'm not present with how I'm feeling at the moment. So I always try to adapt to how am I feeling at the moment, and try to do it like I feel like I need to right now. To just really be present with where am I at right now? What do I need? Because I can't replicate what I did that PR right now, because I'm not the same person as then. It's a week later, and now I have to like approach it differently. But that's a really cool thing with powerlifting too. So that's something. Whenever I like watch competitions, I'm like, what's their setup like?
No, I think that's a really cool answer, and I completely agree. I love watching it, and I also like what you said. We will wrap up in a second because I know you've got to go.
No worries.
I like what you said about like you don't always have the exact same kind of approach because it depends on the day, right? And like I've kind of really learned, especially training alone at home, like you have to be more present in how you're feeling when you're alone at home because you're literally on your own. There's nothing to distract you.
Yeah, and especially if you don't have like spotters.
yeah. And it's learning to lift no matter what mood you're in, but it's learning what works for you, whatever mood you're in, isn't it? And just adapting for that.
Yeah. A last note of that could be like, I would say where I made the most progress from no one internationally knew who I was to my first junior worlds where like some people actually started knowing who I was. The biggest thing was COVID, because at that time I would have to, when I moved, I would always train on my own. Previously, I would always like text everyone, are you at the gym today? I gotta have the squats. Are you at the gym today? Like I would have literally like similar like the Swedish fika things during the session to like try to fuel myself, have candy, have people. Everyone needed to scream or I couldn't lift. And then I just had to, be on my own with my headphones and train by myself. I sometimes would have to like do a max heavy squat on my own with just racks. But doing that for like a year or so, I eventually started getting way more confident in my own body and what I'm capable of. And now I could max out my squat in my own garage without music, and I could still have a really good session. And those are sometimes my best sessions because you learn how to trust in yourself, and that was something that really helped me in my strength to like shoot it up actually.
No, I think that's really amazing. And I think that's a really nice note to kind of end on. I think my camera's just died as well. So that's telling me we need to wrap up the call. No,
No worries.
that's a really good note to end on. I did want to talk to you about your YouTube, but we are kind of out of time. But I just thought I'd say, because we haven't actually mentioned it, you are documenting your training on YouTube at the moment, aren't you?
Yes.
And it is incredible to watch. Very interesting. It's nice to see female powerlifters documenting their training and things like. Anyone that comes on here that has a YouTube, I always talk about it because it's just so good to see because it never really used to be a thing.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Thank you. I try
definitely,
to make one every week.
yeah, definitely people need, if they aren't already, which I'm sure they probably are, need to go and just watch them because it's just good to see. And it's good to see what you do. And obviously it just gives you an insight into high level lifters, what you're doing. You know, I think that's really cool. Before you go, did you want to shout out your coaching and how people can contact you if you've got spaces?
Yes, of course. So you can just send me a DM on Instagram if you're interested, and I will give you some more information. I also have a link in my bio if you would just like to click that and actually read a page with information. But otherwise, you can just send me a DM, and basically, if you're interested, what we would do is we will schedule a call with each other, and that call is completely free, no strings attached whatsoever. But I just like to have a call and talk to someone before we even think about actually starting the coaching, because then you can get to learn, like, get to know each other, see if we can communicate well, because communication is key. So as long as we can communicate well and everything sounds well, and obviously the prices and everything, we go over that in the call, and then you can decide after that, pretty much. So you send a DM or click the link in my Instagram bio or YouTube channel. I try to have the link everywhere.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great chatting to you.
Thank you so much as well. I feel like we maybe should have had more time.